All right.
All right. Thank you for those of us joining live, and welcome to those watching the recording later. This is Taylor. She is our business librarian. She has set up some great resources for this class in general. And today we're going to go over a couple of great resources specifically for assignment 1, but resources that can help you throughout the entire class. And with that, Taylor, all yours.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, I am Taylor Fairweather-Leach. I'm the Scholarly Communications Librarian here at WT. And today we are going to go over the basics of what the library has to offer for you. And then we'll go into your course guide. We'll touch on some databases, and then we'll go through a couple of walkthroughs through some specific databases to get you started on your class assignments. And moving forward, if you have any questions, because this is a recorded instruction session, please feel free to reach out to me at any point in time via email, or you can use our library chat, which I will touch on in just a bit. But please do not hesitate to reach out, and I will get my contact info to you all via Dr. Sale and the recorded chat as well. So without further ado, you'll see our library homepage, and I'm going to just showcase a few of the services we offer before we dive into the actual content of today's session. So up in the left-hand corner, you'll see our services tab. And if you forget a bunch of the things I've said today, you'll come here to your For Students tab, and you'll see all of the many different resources you have that you can utilize throughout your time at WT. And I'm going to select back to go back to our homepage. So Services tab here. Under our Contact tab, you'll see Make an Appointment, Email a Librarian, and then Call and Text. You can also utilize those to get in touch with myself or any of the other librarians available to take questions. I will say that the Make an Appointment, for me personally, right now it's still funky with my calendar email connection. So if you want to set up an appointment with me, just feel free to email me and we'll set something up. Hopefully one day that connection will be resolved and it'll be smooth sailing with that Make an Appointment link. But until then, just email me. Moving over to the right-hand side, you'll see our booking availability for study rooms. We have small, large, and medium rooms that are available to you all to check out and use at your leisure. And then your library account here, which will come into play in a little bit when we get more in depth with the databases. So just to be aware of some of those buttons up there. Then moving down into our right-hand corner is our library chat. And this is a 24/7 chat service that will allow you to have instant contact with the librarian. And you know, it is Friday after 5, so there are no librarians currently here at WT, but we have it to where somebody will take your chat immediately. We have another provider that will come in and has librarians there for you as well. So you'll always have somebody instantly for any kind of question, no matter what time of day you're working on your projects. So please feel free to utilize that. Okay, so moving back into the middle of our page, we have our main search function of all of our databases. And this gives you a well-rounded view of the results that you're looking for, right? Once we get into subject-specific databases, that's when we kind of start narrowing down our search. So we can start out here, and this is what I tell students all the time, is this is a good place to get started within your research. However, once you start getting more into your topic and you start digging deeper, it becomes more important to get into those subject-specific databases. So with that, under databases A through Z, once I select that, it'll show you all of our databases that we currently have. And then if I select this drop-down box where it says all subjects, you'll see all of the different things we have to offer, how many resources we have within that subject, and so on. So if I click into business, you'll see all of the different things you have available to you. And each subject has a best bets area. And that's not to say that any of these other databases listed aren't as good as the best bets. This just means that this is a good place to start. These are some of the ones that we like to use. However, if you feel comfortable with any other databases or want to even try some out, go for it. They are all good databases, all of quality, and will get you good results. So I'm going to go back to the library homepage. And like I said earlier, I won't go over all of the services. So if you have some time, I highly recommend just checking it out, getting a feel for the library website so that you know where to find your resources at. So with that, we're going to go into your course guide, and that is going to house all of the valuable information pertaining to this particular class, and that will help you on throughout the semester. So I'm going to select course guides. And then we'll go into business. Though, as you can see, we have all of these different subject areas. So if you're taking another class in another subject, you may check out our LibGuides and see what can be of use to you. So for now, we'll go into business, and it'll take us to our business strategic management. And from there, it takes you to this page with all of your resources. And once this presentation is over, I will include this link into the chat so that you all have it, so you don't have to do all of the clicks to get here. You can just have it instantly, and you can bookmark it or whatever you need to do for it.
And this link can also be found on WT class in that very first content folder under important class documents.
Oh, perfect, perfect. Okay, so now, as I mentioned with that Discover search, I attached it here within your guide so that you don't, again, it's not having to do that click back and forth. And so it will still function like it did on the main library homepage. And again, we'll go through this course guide to get you started on working with these databases. But before we do that, we want to establish some search strategies, a foundation to move forward within these databases, because as you all might already know, that our databases, they tend to require more keyword specific ways in which we find information rather than Google, where we can just type in anything and we'll get all of the results, right? We want to really tailor our search terms in order to get the quality data that we're looking for and save us so much time in the process. So with that, in the library, we tend to use Boolean operators. And these are a set of words and quotation marks, parentheses, and asterisks that help us achieve that really narrowed in focus of what we're looking for. And I'll do an example here in a little bit later of what that looks like. But essentially, when we're using quotation marks, if we're using, as the example I prepared was Alfred Hitchcock. When I am doing a research project over him and I type it into our Discover up here and I just type in Alfred Hitchcock, I'm going to get a lot of different results. I'm going to get results about a guy named Alfred and things regarding Hitchcock. And then I might find some that have Alfred Hitchcock, the guy I'm looking for. But there's going to be a lot of mess in there. So we're going to want to put those quotation marks and tell the database, this is what I want. The same goes for and or. These just tell the database, I will take opening credits and typography. Or I will take one or the other. I'm not concerned about having both in that particular article. Again, this just tells the database what you're looking for. If you want to get even deeper within these search strategies, we have asterisks and parentheses that, again, just help it dive deeper. But for this purpose, quotation marks and an or will be very helpful to you moving forward. Another thing to keep in mind as we begin our research within our databases and any other type of resource we're finding online is having an evaluation method of some kind. And of course, we started using SIFT here in the library now, but there are so many evaluation processes out there. Um, so it's just good to keep something in mind of stopping and reflecting on what the resource it is that you're looking for, making sure that it's of quality, that they're not trying to scam you or get your credit card or anything like that. You know, we want to make sure that we're finding those valuable tools to help us on our way. So within the SIFT method, it's just essentially saying stop, evaluate your resource. Um, who's the author? What does it look like? When was it published? Where is it coming from? Things like that. Then we want to find better coverage and trace our claims. Where is the original context coming from? What was the purpose of this particular material? Were they trying to sell you on it, or were they just trying to give you the data that they discovered, right? So again, nothing to memorize, but definitely keep in the back of your head. There are some more videos listed below that you can check out if you're interested. We won't watch them today, but they will be living on your guide so that you can come back and watch them whenever you want. Just to get a more in-depth view of what the SIFT method looks like and to form a good evaluation process. So with that, I will start digging into our databases now. So under key resources, I have listed out some best bets to start with. So similar to our databases A through Z list, I've just attached them here again, just for a little bit easier time of finding good resources. And then in the tabs with citing sources, this will allow you to navigate with plagiarism, APA style, and of course, if you need any other assistance with citations, always pop it in the chat or reach out. Either one of those works. And then general library info. This is just good contact info to get you the best results, course reserves, interlibrary loans. So if you end up needing an article that we don't have access to, interlibrary loan should be your next step. And that will allow us to borrow it from another institution that is participating in that interlibrary loan process. So if we don't have it, we sure can find it for you at no charge to you. And then just some other general information that we've covered and or you can check out a little bit later. Okay, so now let's get back to those key resources. So today I'm going to show you the SEC and then Emergent Online, and then we'll go into Business Source Ultimate to use our search strategies and take a look at how that looks like. But for now, I wanted to show you the difference between SEC and Emergent Online and what Emergent Online has to offer and that can help you throughout your course right now. So I'm going to go into the SEC first. And we are going to, I have the link going right into company filings so that you don't have to click into others. That link will go exactly right into here so you can start looking at companies. So we can start looking at some companies. So right now I'm just going to go into Toyota. And of course, if any of you would like to see any other particular databases, just let me know and we can do a walkthrough offline as well. So you'll want to make sure, as you all may know, you may already be experienced with SEC, but you'll want to make sure that you're getting into the right company. Some of these have different layouts, I've noticed. But again, this gives you those company information. Usually the 10Ks are out there, though you can search for it up here. I wish I would have chose a different, I'm actually going to go back. So obviously you can access this information. However, I was playing around with this earlier, and I'm going to try Matador Resources if it will let me. Because it looked like it had a new layout. There we go. So it looked like it's the page has been updated a little bit. So it looks a little bit cleaner than it usually does, or I guess as it used to. So anyways, 10K reports right here. And you can see your 10Qs there, but then of course, if we're looking for our 10Ks, there's our annual report. Once I click it, it'll pop up into a new tab, and then you'll be able to access it there as well. So this is the SEC, right? So now, just as, of course, we could go diving deeper into this one, but for our purpose today, I'm going to go back to our course guide. Okay, so we're going to go back into our course guide now. And one thing I wanted to point out, we won't go through it today, but you all also have access to the New York Times. You'll have to create an account. I'll go ahead and click on this link so you can see what it looks like. But you create an account and then boom, you've got access. So another great resource to keep in mind. I did include this New York Times over here because we have it till 2017. So if you create an account, you'll get more current information. So just cool thing to note. So now we'll go into Business Source Ultimate. And so if you're familiar with traditional library databases, this might feel a little bit more like what you're used to. So again, it's got similar features. We have our and or, our Booleans built right in. So if you're looking for something in particular, you can type it in and it's already built in right there. So sticking with our Matador resources, I'll just stick with that for now and I'll hit search. And this is just another way you can find some information about your company. Over to the right, it has some company information. It's got news going on, things like that. That might also lend itself. Though, again, I would definitely suggest starting with Mergent and then moving on into here if you want like some supplemental data. Over here, we've got our filters. So you can definitely check that data out. We'll want something a little bit more current. Oops. And then hit enter and it will go ahead and add those filters. And you can continue to add in different filters. If we hit subjects, it'll tell us what's going on in our research field. So there's 16 articles about relative strength index and so on and so forth. If I hit show more, it will kind of tell you, give you a better look at what you got going on here. So again, if you're looking for something in particular, we can add that to our main search, add a word in, and we can get it into there. So if I find an article I like, I'm going to hit that link. And then it'll take us to how we're going to access this article. And usually it'll have HTML full text or PDF full text. It'll always be located over in this general area. So then once I select that, it will pull up our full text. And sometimes it'll pop us out into a new tab. Otherwise, it'll keep it in here. You can save it. You have all of these different tools over onto the right that you have to collect this information without having to keep all these tabs open. You can email it to yourself, you can save it into a folder, print it, whatever you need to do. And as far as citing goes, if I wanted to cite this article, I usually recommend that these citations machines are good for content, but not always for format. So just be aware of that. Always make sure you're referencing back to your APA manual, or again, on our course guide, I have that section for the APA. Just to make sure that you're not missing anything. We want to make sure that we're citing our sources correctly and sometimes these will leave out information, or the format's a little different than what it should be, things like that. So again, just make sure you're double checking your sources, especially if you're using these types of machine buildings. So with that, that is Business Sorts Ultimate. If you have any questions about how those databases work, again, just reach out and we can go through it a little more in depth if you would like. One thing I forgot to mention within the databases A through Z, and just talking about databases in general, we keep a description of those databases underneath so that it tells you what you're looking for. So if you don't know where to start, those descriptions will help you understand what that particular database covers and offers, so that you know exactly what you're getting when you get into it. And with that, those are a few of the databases that you all have to offer. Again, we've just pointed out the citing the sources and the library info. Moving forward within this semester and semesters forward with your time at WT, please always feel free to reach out. I'm happy to set up one-on-one Zoom meetings to go over things more in depth or help you find the information that you're looking for. Or we can chat via email, whatever works best for you. I'm here to help you all throughout your time this semester. Oh, and one thing, I know I said this again, the scheduling appointment, please don't use that. I need to probably take that off. I'm just hoping that one day it will work and I won't have to say this all the time, but you can just email me. And with that, Dr. Sell, I think that's all, unless you have something specific that I can go in more depth with.
Nope, I think this is great. So just keep in mind that Mergent is super helpful, definitely for assignment number 1, also probably for assignment number 2 with our environmental analysis. And just keep in mind that sometimes, and it looked like on Mergent this was the case, companies will use the term annual report, but they'll really mean 10K. So for your assignment on Sunday, when you have to turn in a 10K and an annual report, those must be substantially different documents. The annual report, the way we're thinking about it, is something that's geared towards shareholders, substantially different from the 10K. And if you have any questions about that, you can feel free to reach out to me. Unfortunately, Taylor and I haven't yet found a fun, easy peasy way to find those kind of documents online. Usually we just have to go to the company website or search the company investor page. But reach out to either of us if you have any questions about that.
One more thing I wanted to say is this recording is, or this is recorded, and it will live on this page. It'll live right above this Discover search so that you can get to it at any time, and it'll be here throughout the whole semester as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Taylor.
Of course, I'm glad you asked. I love doing this.
Awesome.
Oh, yes, thank you, Trudy. I saw your chat.
That's all I've got, unless you've got anything else, or Trudy, unless you have any questions. Okay.
Awesome. Well, you guys have a great weekend.
All right, you too. Thank you so much.
Yep. All right. Bye-bye.